Hey, welcome back to session 5 of the small group reset. You made it. Today's the last day. Congratulations. And today we're just going to tie a bow onto everything that we've done so far. But first, I need to caution you about something, and that is this. There is a problem with this strategy that I've laid out for the last 4 days. And I know what you're thinking. Are you kidding me? I wasted all my time. You haven't. But stick with me here. It's easy to start a bunch of groups for a 6-week series. That is very easy to do. Groups will spring up like wildflowers, and then they will disappear. Some groups, they're not even going to start at all. Once you open this up, it is the Wild West. Now, I just struck the fear of God into some of you because I just described a lot of chaos. And I've lived through a lot of chaos, but there's good news. I figured out how to make this organized chaos. You see, the solution is a system. The solution is a system, not just taking a couple of strategies and just throwing them out there, or a couple of pieces of this. If you just try to rely on half of a strategy, it's not going to get you there. Or it'll get you a lot of excitement for a short period of time and then it'll evaporate. So let's talk about this system that's going to help you to sustain these groups and to strengthen your small group ministry as you go. When you don't know the leader, give them a coach. Even if they're gathering their friends, even if they're unadvertised, give them a coach. When new leaders get cold feet, give them a coach, somebody to encourage them, somebody to help them, somebody to support them. When new groups fail, give them a coach. There's a reason that they wanted to step forward. There's a reason that they wanted to get into this. And they just need somebody in their corner that's going to cheer them on. Now, let me tell you how I learned all this the hard way. Well, once upon a time, I recruited all of the leaders. I coached all of the leaders. I trained all of the leaders. Are you beginning to detect a theme here? Our groups got stuck at 30% after me recruiting, coaching, training all of the leaders myself for 7 years. It wasn't my senior pastor's fault. It wasn't my coach's fault. It wasn't my new leader's fault. It wasn't my prospective leader's fault. It was my fault. I refuse to give people permission and opportunity to lead groups. I refuse to empower others to lead at a higher level. I refuse to try new things. I refuse to multiply myself. See, giving people permission and opportunity, it wasn't as risky as I thought. In fact, the problems amounted to only about 2%. My senior pastor was willing when I aligned groups with where he was going. And coaches did a great job when I got out of their way. Here's what I learned. People didn't need me as much as I hoped they did. I didn't need to have the whole small group ministry centered around me. And you know what? They didn't need it either because I was in their way. My biggest problem right here between my own two ears. When I changed my thinking about what was possible, when I changed my thinking about multiplying myself, when I changed my thinking from leading by myself to leading with the team, things began to change. When I changed my thinking on how to partner with my senior pastor instead of being an antagonist against him, things began to change. Once I changed my thinking, my senior pastor was more engaged with groups than ever before. My groups doubled twice in 1 year. I'll read that again. My groups doubled twice in 1 year. Coaches flourished when I shared leadership with them. Coaching worked when it was based on a relationship and not an administrative task. Nobody needed as much training as I assumed. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the way pastors are trained. But you set people in neat little rows and we think, wow, this is going to make sure we have what we want here. But we don't know if they're listening, if they even show up. If they hear us, we don't know if they believe us. If they believe us, we don't know if they'll do it. So they don't need nearly as much training. They've got a lot more on the ball than what we're willing to give them. So what's the system? Well, first of all, we delayed the requirements for a trial run. So we had the bar set pretty high on leadership, and that's good. Leave that bar set really high. But then, what requirements do we delay in order for someone to have that test drive? Remember? We didn't advertise these groups. If we didn't know these people that were gathering their friends knew them, but we didn't know them, so we didn't advertise the groups. We didn't publicize them. They didn't participate in a connection event. We didn't send anybody to their groups. Every new group was given a curriculum. And in our case, we did a curriculum based on my pastor's teaching. So they didn't need to be the Bible expert. But on the other side, we didn't want them teaching, right? We wanted them to gather a group and facilitate a discussion. We didn't want them teaching anything. So we gave them the curriculum. And then every new leader had a coach. We gave them a brief initial training, just enough to get them started. We gave them the coach, we gave them the curriculum, and then we phased back the training over time. We brought back the requirements that we had delayed over time. Personally, I met with only 8 people or less. I had a team. In one church, that was a team of coaches. In another church, that was a leadership team who had coaches, who had leaders. But I only met with 8 people. But those 8 people were the multiplication of myself. Every leader has different training needs. Some haven't started, some are brand new, some of them have a little bit of experience, some of them have a lot of experience. They all need different training, and every leader has different coaching needs. How do you know what needs they have? Here's a hint. Ask them. Ask them, and they'll tell you, and then give them what they need. Developing a coaching structure, let's face it, it is the hardest work of small group ministry. You're working pretty hard now. I don't know that it's harder than recruiting leaders, but it's hard work to get your coaching structure started. But once you do, it is scalable. Once you have your coaching structure in place, whether your groups double or triple or quadruple or whatever after that, all you have to do is add on to it. You never have to rebuild it because it's scalable, it's effective, and it's essential. So this is the sweet spot. This is what I want to see happen in your church. Your senior pastor recruits the leaders. Remember, I haven't recruited a small group leader since 2004. So your senior pastor recruits the leaders. The new leaders, they recruit the group. They gather a group of their friends and people that they know. You invest in building the coaching structure and in the training. That's your part. Pastor recruits the leaders recruit the members. You invest in building the coaching structure and training, and you will get a lot further, a lot faster with this system. Your people, get this, your people will live in obedience to the Great Commission. So if we have people that they haven't been going and making disciples, they're not living in obedience to the Great Commission, right? Well, if they're not living in obedience to it, then they're living in disobedience to it. And so the question is, do you want a church full of obedient people or a church full of disobedient people? Let's give them a way to gather their friends, to do something intentional about their spiritual growth, and to live in obedience to the Great Commission. I want to tell you about my 12-month coaching group. You knew this was coming. So give me 5 minutes, and I'm going to give you a gift today. You have to stick with me. The 12-month coaching group has these goals. We're going to engage your senior pastor. We're going to recruit more leaders than ever before. We're going to connect more people into groups. We're going to develop an effective coaching structure. We're going to use training that works for everybody. We're going to monitor metrics that matter. Train future leaders in your groups. We're going to multiply groups in less painful ways. We're going to make disciples who make disciples. How do you know you have a disciple? Because they're making disciples. How do you make disciples? Well, disciples make disciples. You're going to reach your congregation and your community. You can connect well beyond the members of your church and connect many, many, many members in the community that have a relationship with the people that will step out and start a group. Churches that I've coached have started over 16,000 groups in the last 10 years. This is in hundreds of churches. This is dozens of churches. And in those 16,000 groups, they've connected over 125,000 people into groups. Some have more than doubled their weekend worship attendance in groups. One had 211% more groups in 2020. Remember 2020? They had more groups in 2020 than they had in 2019 by 211%. More groups, more organization, less stress. That's what this group will bring you. Better discipleship, better care, and better outreach. So the 12-month coaching group, it meets twice monthly as a group for 6 months with you and 7 other churches to discuss best practices. And then monthly, we'll meet one-on-one, just you and me, to customize the best practices to your church. Because every church that I've worked with, every church that I've ever met, based on the part of the country you're in, the denomination that you're a part of, the culture of your church, the personality of your pastor, every church has its own unique culture. So this is not cookie cutter. We're going to do something that works for you. So if there are 8 churches in this coaching group, well, we're going to do 8 versions of essentially the same thing. I'm going to give you templates, timelines, examples, and samples. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take what I have and then make it better and make it work for your church. I'm going to give you 5 of my books. I'm going to give you 3 of my online courses as supplements to our discussions in the group. And then as a thank you, I told you there was a gift. I'm going to give you my 3 Keys to Lasting Groups course. And if you can go to alanwhite.org/courses and click on 3 Keys to Lasting Groups. And then when you go through checkout, use the code thank you, all one word, thank you, and you will get that course for free. Thank you for sticking with me. Just a couple more things. The 12-month coaching groups consists of 6 months of the group experience, 12 months of the one-on-one coaching, 5 books, 3 online courses, templates, timelines, samples, and examples, a discount to churchteams.com if you're looking for the best small group database that there is. What's the cost? Well, you could pay monthly. So you can pay $525 a month for 6 months, or you can pay $275 a month for 12 months. Or if you want to save a little money, you could pay up front in one payment of $2,995. The group is limited to 8 spots. So when these 8 spots fill up, or when we get to the start date, the group is closed. And I'll tell you, what typically happens is the spots are filled well before the start date. So if you're interested, you need to contact me today. If you register now, then your one-on-one coaching starts now. So whether you're a month ahead, whether you're several months ahead of the group, your coaching can start now. And then when the group starts, you still get that one-on-one. Are you ready to sign up? I'd love for you to sign up. So you can contact me, alan@alanwhite.org, or call me at 949-235-7428. That's my cell phone. Anyway, contact me, let's talk, and let's figure out how to make this work for your church. And I'd love to have you in my group this year. All right. God bless. Thanks for sticking with me. Contact me if you have any questions. I'd love to talk to you.